I also wonder, though, with this announcement of 7,000 layoffs coming, how many of them are now fretting for their jobs?
It was inevitable that they're going to have job cuts were coming because they got a lot of debt. And so how they go about that is, that's always difficult, but I feel like that was foreshadowed.
I think we're seeing exactly what we made as our actual predictions. The beginning, he's going to throw some total softballs, like just get the people kind of happy-ish because he can do these easy things that are completely useless but sound good and look good. And that's what's happening. Like,
follow through on something that you're promising, because thus far it's been a lot of promises and a lot of sunshine and rainbows and everything like that. But I'm still seeing clouds here and
the parking.
Welcome, Walt Disney World fans, to another episode of the Notcast, presented by NotClub33.com. On this week's show, we're talking Bob Iger, specifically, how do we grade him at this point in his new tenure? It's been a quarter of action for him. 3 months are in the bank for Mr. Iger. What do we think about that? We'll get into that. Let me first introduce here's on the panel with me. My name is Steve Rhodes. Today, Pat Neistat.
What's up?
Becky Wells.
Hello.
And Bobby Berchins, the Disney Cynic, is here.
I love grading. I would be a terrible teacher because I would be such a jerk to him.
Leave the teaching to your wife, yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Speaking of Bobby's wife, him and his wife do a podcast every Monday. Cynics on podcast. You see the information on your screen. It's all linked in the description down below. Guys, Bob Iger, just over 3 months in as CEO again for the Walt Disney Company. He's given some nice things to our Disney parks. Namely, we keep free parking again if you're staying at a Walt Disney World resort, which is thank you. He's also laid off 7,000
cheapens Pat's DVC.
Yeah. But we're getting some improvements with things like Genie Plus now coming with on-ride photos. Down the pipeline, annual pass holders won't have to do the whole reservations for park hopping, all that stuff. But we've got some things that are coming out that are good for the Disney parks, for the Disney company. Like I said, 7,000 layoffs, not in such a great position financially, but he did end the proxy war with Nelson Peltz. And also, I guess he kind of won with the state of Florida, because what's the consequences of the whole Reedy Creek thing? That you had to change the name, essentially, is really all that's coming out of that. So where do we grade him? That's the question for the day. Bobby, do you want to jump in there?
Yes. Okay, I give him an F. And it's because of a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. The Reedy Creek issue, that actually is kind of a substantial issue still. It's not simply that they had to change their name. It's that they have multiple different people who sit on a board now who have to approve or disapprove of things like different projects and different permits, and the board member qualifications are such that you basically can't have worked for Disney or have even worked in the industry for the past, I believe it's 5 years, it may be 10.
3 years.
So, it's people who don't understand the needs of that business being told that they need certain items like permits and that kind of stuff. It's just going to slow everything down. We're going to see a lot more issues with, potholes and, building permits and, all the construction that we bemoan and everything like that. It's just going to be even longer and more ongoing because they won't have things wrapped up as neatly and tightly as they might have been when they had control over the situation. So that to me is an F. On top of that, really the only thing that he's done is gotten into a pissing contest with Nelson Peltz over the board member position. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it's nice to have free parking again for resort guests. That should have happened a long time ago anyway. And that's not something that is over. Over 7 days, 25, 35 bucks a day. It's not chump change. Don't get me wrong, but it's also not such a significant impact on one's pocketbook that it's really changing the cost or the availability of somebody to go. it ultimately amounts to a couple days worth of tickets for one person if you take away all those parking fees. So we're not talking a huge sum of money when you consider the sum total that a family of four would spend on a
So,
vacation.
so you would rather have Chapek back?
God no. Absolutely
Okay.
not. What I'm getting at is that it's more. It feels like more of the same, just under the name of Bob Iger, and he might have a little bit of a kinder smile to him, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that he's actually done anything to improve the company.
Yeah. Becky, what do you
I think
think? Yeah.
I think we're seeing exactly what we made as our actual predictions. The
Yeah.
beginning, he's going to throw some total softballs, like just get the people kind of happy-ish
Yeah.
because he can do these easy things that are completely useless but sound good and look good. And that's what's happening. Like, it
I don't
doesn't
even
take
think he's done
much
that.
for him to win back like the praise because he's just the complete opposite in many ways as Chapek, right? So
Yeah.
easy for him to come in and be like, "Oh, you know what? That was a terrible plan. We're going to go ahead and reverse it." Okay, fine. All they did was take away nickel and diming effect in your brain, but it's still rolled into your more expensive resort room, and that's
Yeah.
how it should have stayed. I don't dispute that. I completely agree. But like, nothing substantial on the surface to the layperson or even the maybe generally well-versed Disney fan has quite happened yet, because he's not going to go ahead and put out there all the wheels that are in motion, because why would he?
Sure.
Like, yet. So for the first quarter report card, sure, buddy, have a B. I don't know. It's fine. Great. You did
I'll
exactly what we thought would happen.
I'll tell you
Fine.
why
There's
he
not much more that
delivers.
should have happened.
I'll tell you why he delivers those kind of, or tries to send forth a message. It's because the company itself has looked kind of listless here, and without any sort of real plan, whether it's through the marketing, whether it's through the actual films that are being produced, outside of maybe Marvel, which is the most organized studio that is in Hollywood right now. There's really not any sort of direction for any of the studios to go through. Sending a clear message and having a future
Yeah,
plan is part of the reason why we got the change that we did, and we haven't gotten
He's
any of
doing
that
damage
message
what
yet.
control
wasn't
and imaging. That's what
I,
we were
I
expecting in
think
this
I
fourth
think the
chunk.
whole Nelson Peltz thing. If you have Bob Chapek in power still, that whole Nelson Peltz thing goes a completely different direction.
Oh
So
no, Nelson Peltz is on the board if Bob
yeah,
Chapek
I mean, he
is
might be
still
the
here.
CEO. I mean, quite honestly, an F. I just don't agree with. I'm more in the C range for Iger, and honestly, we're talking about a guy that's got a 2-year tenure now, so we're not even anywhere near halfway through that. And for the first 3 months of action, I'd say as a park fan, I'm more in the B plus range because he's changed the things that a lot of the things that we didn't like that Chapek was doing, and then if he continues with that, I could see that grade improving. As an overall fan of the company, I'm more in the C minus range for him. Where are you at,
He's
Pat?
announced change. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say B, and here, like, I want to address one thing that Bobby was saying about like the animation, the movies. One of the big things he did when he reorganized the company, he gave power back to the creators.
yeah,
So when he changed the company into 3 different segments, right? And when doing that, he gave the power back to the creatives, and I thought that was a huge step in the direction that Chapek wanted all the power to go through essentially like 2 people,
right.
and took all the power away from like the creators of Marvel, Star Wars, all these people. Now they all have it back, so they're going to be there's going to be more accountability in the movie and industry and the streaming and all that. But also, one of the big things he said in the interview I watched was that the parks are like their lifeblood, and
Yeah,
investment in the parks is going to be important going forward. And that means to me, probably maybe soon here. I know they have an investor day like maybe like next month. They may announce some stuff there about what's going to be happening in the parks and give you more of a forecast in that spot. So I think there's a lot of positive things that he's done. I mean, it was inevitable that they're going to have job cuts were coming because they get a lot
sure.
of debt, and so how they go about that is that's always difficult. But I feel like that was foreshadowed.
Yeah.
I do want to point out though that at some of these announcements that you guys are kind of touting as great and wonderful and everything like that, they haven't actually been enacted yet. Like I still have to make a park reservation,
Right.
even they haven't announced an actual physical date for that program to stop for annual pass holders. They haven't announced
IT can handle making that change. They've probably been working on that for a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it would seem to me to revert code, but that's just me. Or frankly, just have me show up. I don't know. It just feels like that can happen.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that, to your point, have been announced, but they haven't been enacted. So
my guess is with that is they're waiting to see the level that Tron impacts the park ownership, and then as they get accustomed to having that in the parks, they're going to say, "All right, now we're ready. Turn it off." That's
give me a date. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for hard dates, hard facts, hard.
Fair enough.
The strategies that we can hold Iger accountable for, because Pat and I have discussed this on my podcast. We've discussed it on this show before. Iger is not blameless for all of the problems that Disney was facing during the pandemic, and he should not be, and he should be held to a much higher standard. Coming in here as the conquering hero and the savior of the company, if you're going to treat him like that, well, he damn well better do it. And so far, I don't think he's lived up to that.
I think he understands, like just listening to the interview, he is pretty reflective, and I think he's trying to right some of those wrongs that even with the Fox deal and this and that, but I will say the Investor Day, I think, is going to be an important day, because he had mentioned that DeMauro was working on some stuff for the parks, and I think personally, I think it's Animal Kingdom that they're going to be maybe announce something. I know.
What day is Investor Day?
So it's coming soon. So you're probably going to get a plan laid out, because I don't remember if you guys remember a couple of years ago when Disney Plus came out. They nobody knew anything about it. Investor Day, they just laid out like boom, boom. This is what we're going to do. These are the shows, and they laid out like years worth of stuff. And then he may do something like that again. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he's a great manager. He made a few missteps with the Fox deal and that kind of thing, but overall, he was a great manager for the company for over a decade.
Yeah, but Bobby, since you gave him the F, let me ask you the biggest area of improvement that you want to see. Maybe something that's announced at the Investor Day, or just what the one thing that you want to see change.
Follow through. That's where I'm at with all of this. Follow through on something that you're promising, because thus far it's been a lot of promises and a lot of sunshine and rainbows and everything like that. But I'm still seeing clouds here and lightning
the parking bolts. Some of those things did happen right away. Some of them did.
The parking did overnight.
If we're looking at these things just being like winning people back to make you feel happy again with the fluff that is easy to do, some of that's already totally occurred, but not all of it.
And you can feel a difference in just the atmosphere, in my opinion, just like with the cast.
Cast is happier.
People are excited.
You can see that at the very least, but also
that's huge.
I also wonder, though, with this announcement of 7,000 layoffs coming, how many of them are now fretting for their jobs. We talked about it on our show a couple of weeks ago with Amanda. What kinds of positions are they going to be cutting? They said specifically it's not expected to impact the frontline cast members.
Yeah.
Who's it going to affect then? That's 7,000 jobs is a lot of jobs.
My guess
we're not talking about the park
middle
operators.
Management. It's generally middle management when you're announcing that kind of layoff. Yeah.
If okay, so one of the things is they're cutting $2 billion out of their spend in streaming, so content. So I figure a lot of jobs are going to come from those areas, because they're cutting $5 billion total in spending, and the half of it's coming from streaming. So I would imagine the parks are thriving. I mean, they're thriving, and so cutting jobs there, it's not going to be frontline workers. I can't see
that would be a massive.
They're already short.
Yeah,
they're already
Please
short.
do not cut any IT for Disney parks either, because that would be. You need more of them. But,
it's just one guy in the room. It's one guy with a
So-
computer in the room. You can't cut him.
We'll have to
Or her.
bookmark this and come back to it because we have the investor day, and we'll have to give another report card, I guess, in the summertime and just see what we feel then. So if you want to be
It's gonna
notified
be
of when
May.
we do that show, nice. If you want to be notified when we do that show, hit that bell icon. It turns on notifications and it lets you know when we upload videos. This show here, the Notcast, airs every Friday at 4 p.m. Magic Kingdom time. Consider subscribing because it really helps us out. And also hit that like button. It helps us in YouTube's algorithms. For everybody here at Not Club 33, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.